That sounds fun. That sounds fun.
Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode of That Sounds Fun. I'm your host, Annie F. Downs. Man, I'm so happy to be here with you, and I cannot wait for you to hear this conversation. But before we dive in, I want to tell you about one of our incredible sponsors. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. When our pal John Acuff reminded us recently that we get a fresh start at the beginning of every month on all those resolutions we've set, it really got me thinking about how we need to be sure we're celebrating the progress we've made and continuing to learn and grow toward our goals, right? One of the most helpful things for me in doing just that has been time with my therapist. I highly recommend giving therapy a try if you never have. Whether you're considering starting therapy or maybe looking for a change, let me tell you about BetterHelp. It is entirely online, super convenient, and flexible to your schedule. Plus, getting started is so easy. You just fill out a quick questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist. They also make it super simple to switch therapists anytime at no extra cost, so you can be sure you've got a great therapeutic match. Take a moment for yourself this summer. Visit betterhelp.com/thatsoundsfun, and you're going to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/thatsoundsfun. Today on the show, I get to talk with my friend Jordan St. Cyr. Jordan and his family have spent years facing an incredibly challenging health battle with their youngest daughter, but thankfully it's looking like they are coming out the other side. But before moving to Nashville, Jordan was a construction worker turned award-winning singer in Canada. They've been in the Nashville area, so we've been neighbors now for about 2 years. And it has been so fun to see him release new music and be such a light in the music community while dealing with such challenging personal things with his family at the same time. Y'all are absolutely going to love hearing his story and his heart and his new album, My Foundation. It has something for all of us as we experience God's faithfulness. I cannot wait for y'all to get to know Jordan. I literally may be introducing you to your new favorite artist. I mean, he is the best. So here's my conversation with your new favorite artist and my friend, Jordan St. Cyr.
That sounds fun.
Okay, Jordan St. Cyr, welcome to That Sounds Fun.
Thank you so much.
I mean, I'm so glad you're here. We're just diving in. You're telling me that a song that you released a year ago plus
Over a year ago. Yeah.
is hitting top 10 right now.
Yeah. What's going on?
Tell me what happens when the label calls and goes, hey, you know that song that's been on the radio and that people have been Spotify playlisting and whatever? Which one is it? My Foundation?
No, it's Rescue. This song called Rescue. Yeah, this is kind of the bookend of our story of walking out of the fire with our little girl. And she's doing so well right now.
Yeah.
And now I released the song Rescue. And again, rescue isn't God pulling us out of the fire.
Yeah.
The rescue was really his presence walking it, through with us.
Yeah.
And so we released the song Easter of 2023. It's been over a year. And we just thought, okay, well, maybe this song's a dud. And let's see.
But then you don't call, I've never done this before because I've never sang.
Yeah.
You don't call the radio and go, stop playing it. You just go like, okay, well, let them do what they do.
Right,
and they'll
right.
play it when they play
Right.
it.
And so before Christmas, we had some big ads
Yeah.
in some big cities. And we're like, okay, I guess we're going to continue to push this after Christmas. And then we get the more big ads and more big ads.
And big ads mean that a radio station that has a lot of listeners says, we're going to start putting this in our rotation. You're like, what? Why? Not last Easter?
Right. You're Houstons, your Dallases, your LAs, your Atlantas. And it was like,
oh my gosh.
Okay, God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we're just kind of riding a wave that we feel we didn't create. You know what I mean? Like there was no ulterior motive here other than we just tried to stay faithful with what we had.
Okay, and I'll tell you the thing I've watched from a distance. For our friends listening, we have known of each other. This is our first time being friends. As I've watched you from a distance, I mean, you've been faithfully grinding at this career for a while.
For a bit.
And you are, what we may not know because we're American,
Yeah.
you are actually uber famous in Canada.
I mean, I've
Dude,
done some things.
Don't make me read stats. Don't make me do it.
Come on.
You have 2021 awards, 17-time winner at the GMA Canada Covenant Award, including Artist of the Year.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the problem with America and Canada, is you come down
no
here
problem.
and hustle.
Yeah.
And that has to be, tell me about the ego. Tell me how you do that emotionally. Like, you're that in Canada, and then you come down here and it takes a year to get in the top 10.
You know what? I think, look, at the end of the day, I'm not that. For me personally, I'm never that. I go home and I'm a husband and I'm a father. And more importantly, I'm a child of God. And you know what? Beat that those identities into me is honestly working in construction for 20 plus years, cursing the job that I had because God, all I wanted to do was play music.
So you were doing construction and music at the same time in Canada?
Absolutely.
Unless you're 60 and you look a lot
Right.
younger than you actually are. How have you had time to do 20 years of construction?
Because I started with my dad when I was 13.
There you go.
Laying floors.
Wow.
And so I laid floors for, 15 plus years, ran my own
Wow.
business. And you know what? There was this amazing parallel of God literally putting me in the dirtiest place in people's homes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Literally cleaning up everything that gravity brought down.
Yeah.
You know, sweeping it up, pulling out their old floors and putting in new ones, all while being on my knees.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And
Were you a believer the whole time?
oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Grew up in the church. 4 years old, 5 years old, there were these pivotal worship nights that we had at our church.
Wow.
And I just remember being that age, and me and my brother just had our hands in the air.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't recover from that
Yeah, that's
in
right.
the best way.
What part of Canada are you from?
Central Canada, small town just south of Winnipeg, which
Okay.
is above Minnesota,
Yep.
called Niverville.
Okay.
1,200 people.
1,200 people,
You
so
knew-
you know everybody.
You know everybody. We've grown. We've grown quite a bit. We're at about 6,000 people.
Yeah.
One of the fastest growing communities in Canada. Again,
Wow.
still not big, but we've got our Dairy Queen.
Yeah, hey, listen,
Let's
that
go.
means you got it.
2 stoplights.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's just a beautiful place to grow up. You know, knowing that a lot of the politics didn't affect you. You got to kind of live your life. It was a farming and trades community. And again, we talked earlier about this. You know, my parents came from very tough upbringings. You know, my dad's dad took off, grew up in a single parent home, a lot of, religious abuse, a lot of just tough things going
Yeah.
on. My mom grew up in a very difficult situation. Her mom had MS, so she grew up, caring for her.
Yeah.
Her dad was a workaholic,
Yeah.
just tough things. And so they retreated from the city and they moved to this small town.
Wow.
And, my dad had dreams of being a singer-songwriter, and I believe he put those on the back burner just so they could have a healthy family,
Wow.
And so we grew up in this amazing little town, 6 churches.
Yeah.
You knew everybody who went to church.
That's it.
And you knew everybody who didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
you know which one they went to.
And so I grew up, and I say this, facetiously, I grew up this little self-righteous church kid.
Yeah, sure.
Thinking I was right and everybody
Yeah,
else was wrong.
yeah.
And then you grow up and you realize, after reading the Bible at length, that Jesus came for those who didn't.
Yeah, right.
Oh, man.
Right.
So,
For the sick, not the healthy, right?
amen.
Right.
Amen. So here we are.
So
yeah.
what made y'all pack up and come down here?
Well, we had this little hit on the radio called Fires.
Uh-huh.
I believe it was
That's
on.
nice of you to say little. That is
well,
not the math.
it was. What was it? 42 weeks on Billboard.
Yeah,
Again, a slow burn.
Yeah.
And so let me backtrack a little.
Okay.
I had been coming to Nashville since 2014, back
okay.
and forth about 3, 4, 5 times a year, just trying to figure out if this is the path that was for me.
Okay.
And slowly but surely, I just started meeting people. I knew no one when I first started. And eventually, we landed on this song, Fires, in 2018. And I was signed to a label at the time, a little label, and it didn't work out. And so it took about 6 months for me to recover from that, thinking we're about to release this song and do something big in the United States. I'm this kid from Canada, from nowhere.
Yeah.
So this is a big deal.
And that's such like a short sentence take. It took me 6 months to recover, but on like month 2 where you're like,
Yeah.
are all my dreams gone?
Totally. And that was a part of a whole 2-week period that we can talk about. But it was awful.
Yeah.
And so, again, I don't know where this comes from, but this fire that just would not burn out,
Yeah.
that I prayed away
Yeah,
for years.
right. You're like, let me just do something else.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'll go work in a church. I'll go do whatever. I don't want to work in construction anymore.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where, God, I think I can make more impact in the world doing something else. I just got
wow.
real honest.
Yeah.
And so I took it upon myself. I put some money together, a large amount of money, and we went to Christian radio in the U.S. independently.
Oh my God.
And so,
I did not know that.
yeah, so we
I've
hired.
done a lot of reading about you, and I did not. No one said he put
Yeah.
himself on American radio.
We hired the amazingly
Dude.
talented Chris Hauser,
of course.
who in our first conversation, he says, "No,
Yeah.
I'm not taking money away or food off the table for your family."
yeah.
What
Wow.
an amazing human being.
Yeah.
And And I eventually said, you know what, Chris, I'm in a great spot.
Yeah.
I am financially set to make this move. My family will not suffer. We've stewarded what God has given us well.
Yeah.
Will you take me on?
Yeah.
And he said yes.
Will you
And
explain for our friends listening who aren't in the music world at all what a Chris Hauser does? Like, what does it mean you hired someone, an independent radio guy like that?
Well, Chris is basically your liaison, your voice to every radio station.
Yes.
And Chris is the kind of guy that has deep, meaningful relationships with all these people. It's so beyond work.
Yes.
He wants to provide something of value for them to serve their community.
Yep.
And so we saw eye to eye on that right away. I'm like, you know what? I'm not here to become famous. I'm not here to become rich. I think I've got something of value to serve our world with. And I believe you're the guy to serve that up.
Yes.
And so Chris then takes that song and he highlights it among the 300 other songs that are being pitched to these radio stations.
Yes.
You know, it's like you're a needle in a haystack unless you have somebody like a Chris Hauser.
Yeah.
And so he serviced the song and he did his best.
Yeah.
He's fighting an uphill battle because A, it's a brand new song, which is always hard. Now you have a brand new artist. So he's fighting two battles for me.
And it's not a worship song.
And it's not a worship song. And so it is what it is. And I'm like, you know what? Do your best.
Yeah.
I just know that I need to stay faithful with what I believe that I'm supposed to do in my life.
Yeah.
And so we went for it. And you know what? We would get 1 ad, 2 ads a week. Jeez. Oh, then maybe 3, then back to 1. And we're like, man, do we stop? Do we? And the information we got is like, if you're getting 1 radio ad a week and you're signed to a big label and you're doing it, you're winning.
Oh, wow.
So we're like, okay, we're going to stay steady on this. And so I believe we got to September or October.
Of 18.
Of 2020.
Oh, geez.
Yes, we wrote the song in 2018, but we released it Easter weekend in 2020.
Oh, good gravy.
Pandemic, right? I'm ignorant to everything. Thank the Lord. I didn't know that this was the worst year to be doing this. But again, God's timing is perfect.
Right.
It really is. I believe the world needed a song that didn't tie a bow on it.
Right.
But just said, I am with you.
Yeah.
You know, this is going to be a hard slog, but we're going to get through it together. And so, again, I didn't know any of that. I didn't know how to really write a Christian radio song.
Yeah.
I was just trying to write my heart and my story. And Chris took this to the airwaves. Around October, BEC, my current record label, came knocking, offered me up this beautifully amazing deal.
Yeah.
And we started working together and took the song to...
Are they based here? Is BEC
They're based
here?
in Seattle.
Oh, okay.
And...
Did they used to be Tooth and Nail?
They still are.
They still are Tooth and Nail?
That is their umbrella company.
Oh
and
my
this
gosh,
was
you're so cool.
Oh my gosh.
Being with Tooth and Nail.
I went to so many Christian festivals as a kid.
Yeah.
And it was all these Tooth and Nail bands. MXPX and Value Pack and...
Oh man, Pillar. Did
Pillar.
You listen to Pillar?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I crushed some Pillar
Supertones.
stuff. Yeah,
you know,
right,
like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so this was a moment for me to bask in of like God doing what he does best.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
know?
That's
so that song got us really thinking, okay, we need to move. I was on tour doing a Christmas tour with Cast and Crowns.
Yeah.
And it was a 3 weeks away from home tour.
Yeah, wow.
And that was the
With
final.
no break.
Well, we had breaks.
Okay.
But because I lived in Canada, getting home
Right. You're
was,
like, I'll be on the bus.
okay, I'll fly home for a day. It'll
Yeah.
take a day to get home. I'll stay home a day and then I'll fly back.
Right.
I'm going to be done.
Yeah, that's right.
And so at that point, we had another little song, Weary Traveler, hit the radio, and basically
Everybody listening is like, yeah, we know Fires. Yeah, we know Weary Traveler.
Right. Weary Traveler started to climb the charts. And I told my wife, Fires is what's going to bring us to Nashville. And it did. But we can stay if Weary Traveler impacts people. And it did.
It did.
And so here we are. We've been living in Tennessee for just over 2 years.
Yeah.
And it is like the miracle of this story is crazy because my wife, her prayer, her heart for all of this was like, God, we already have everything we need. We don't want to move.
Right.
You know,
Is she Canadian as well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We grew up 15 minutes apart from each other.
Okay.
We had the house that we desired. We lived on the block that we loved. Our neighbors, our communities. We had like 30 kids living on our block.
Yeah.
All our kids' friends were there.
Right.
We brought each one of our kids home to this house.
Yeah.
You know, why would we want to move? And we just felt God expanding our hearts.
Wow.
You know? And so my wife's prayer was, God, you know the community.
Yeah.
right? You know the street, you know the neighbors, you know the kids,
Wow.
you know the schools, and you know the healthcare system for our little girl. And you know what? It was maybe 6 months ago. We have all our neighbors over, all their kids, and I'm looking at my wife
Yeah.
with just this look of like, God did it.
God did it.
He did it.
I mean, don't give us your address, but what part of town? Are y'all Franklin-y or y'all?
We're Murfreesboro.
Oh, Murfreesboro.
What's a Murfreesboro? We
Yeah.
this was not on our radar at all. Like we moved in 22 where everything was crazy. You had to buy
Yeah.
houses sight unseen. And so we literally didn't see the house before we got it. And we literally walked in with tears in our eyes,
Yeah.
looking like this is for us.
Yes.
And again, like you can't make this up.
Yeah.
You cannot make this up. So we live in Murfreesboro and we've got like
That's
a 15-year
great.
plan with our
Yeah.
kids. We're like,
Yeah.
we're locked in.
How many kids?
4 kids.
4.
Yeah. Boys, Aiden and Liam are 13 and 12.
Okay.
And our girls, Willa and Emery, are 9 and 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, so many of our friends listening are raising kids, and
Yeah.
at some point they're going to move. They're going to have to
Right.
move for a job.
Oh, gosh.
They're going to have to move for health
Yeah.
reason. They're going to have to move because the parents feel like God is saying we are supposed to move across the
Right.
country or
Right.
to a different country, as yours
Yeah.
did. How do you walk with kids through that? I mean, because if your kids are 13, 11,
Yeah.
I mean, they were kids of age, of knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
And so you're bringing a 5th grader
Yeah.
and saying, hey, God's telling us to move to a different country.
Right.
What does that look like?
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. I
It's
bet.
heartbreak. You see these kids lose everything they've known and trade it in for something that they know nothing about.
Yeah.
My 12-year-old Liam would still choose back home.
Wow.
And we're just over 2 years in. How do you
Yeah.
navigate that?
Yeah.
I wrote a song about it on the new album. It's called "A Way for Us," and it's
Yeah.
our journey from.
Oh, I totally
Yeah.
hear that now when you say
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And this is it. And so for those listening, honestly, it's a step-by-step thing.
Yeah.
As somebody who loves to see 10 steps ahead,
Yeah.
you don't get that.
Same. Yeah.
You don't get that. You literally get to step, and
And you have to shepherd their little hearts
you got to
through
shepherd their little hearts.
trusting God.
And
Jeez.
you have to be okay with getting it wrong. And
Oh,
that is
interesting.
hard because God does not call us to take the right step. He calls us to take the next step.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm the director of your steps, not
Do
you.
you think you can get it wrong?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. And that's where we were talking about earlier. It's like,
yeah.
sorry
Yeah.
covers everything.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, as I've been able to apologize to my boys, especially when I can be too cold or when I can be too loud, in my discipline, you get to show them the same way God has showed you,
Yeah. But when you're thinking of moving cities,
Yeah.
I'm thoughtful. I want to chop this up with
Canadian
you.
to American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you moved here, would it have been wrong? Or would the Lord have just gone, okay, let's go? I mean, is there a
This is my philosophy.
know.
This is my philosophy. It's my hot take.
Okay, I'm so into it.
I don't think God cares as much about what you do as you think you do.
I think you're right.
God is a good father.
Yes.
And when I look through the lens of being a father with my kids, it's a lot less about what they end up doing and more about who they are.
Yes.
And so here we are.
Yeah.
And
Like
so-
picking colleges. When your boys start picking
exactly.
colleges.
God, where do you want me to go? It's
Yeah.
like God's like,
What do you want to study?
well, yeah, what do you want to
Where
do?
are your friends? Yeah.
He wants you to participate in the
Yeah,
journey.
that's right.
And when you kind of throw that on him, he's like, no.
Yeah.
He throws
I mean,
it right
in my
back.
decision, I'm like you. I grew up a Christian. I got saved when I was
Yes.
5.
Yep.
I meant it. I knew what I was doing.
Yep.
And I'm 43. So
Yep.
I'm working on 38 years of doing this.
Right.
And probably on one hand, I can count the times the Lord's been like, do this.
Wow.
The rest of
Yes.
them have been like, what do you want
Yes.
to do?
Yes.
And what do you think? And once I release the I need to hear a yes in capital letters
Right.
flown in the sky. And
Yeah.
instead, what makes sense and what if I try this and
Right.
it isn't right? I remember when I was moving here, I was riding in the car with a friend and I said, what if it doesn't work out, Gary? And Gary's like, you come back home.
That's right.
And I was like,
That's right.
I am not locking doors behind me.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What does your prayer life look like? Is it like for me, it is a constant conversation.
Yeah.
That doesn't end.
Yeah.
So I think when we operate that way, we have less of a hard time of thinking we need to hear the voice of God before we do something.
Yeah, because it just feels more like we're doing every day together anyway.
Every day together, every moment. I'm a crazy person.
I want to sit and read in the mornings. I want to have focus time. I
Yeah,
want to be, and
you
that's
wanna
when I can
devote.
pray for other people.
Absolutely.
But when it's me and the Lord sorting stuff out, I'm like, between here and the chiropractor, we got to talk about what happened at work today. We got to talk about,
We're just hanging. We're bros all the time.
Yeah.
And so there it is.
That's the ease of when scripture says pray constantly. You're like, I could never. And then you're like, well, yeah, I can talk all day.
I can
I can talk and
literally
listen all
all
day.
day.
Like, I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're right. I think that eases up. But then teaching that to kids and going like, hey, you guys, we are trusting that God is opening these doors.
Yeah.
And we're going to do the best we can with it. And here we go. Whoa.
It's an impossible...
Setting them up for a great life.
Yeah. It's
Truly.
an impossible task because I remember when my parents moved from the city to the small town we were in, I was in first grade.
And you remember.
I remember the pain, and I remember developing a sense of self that was not positive because I was the new kid.
Yeah.
And I think I still carry that with me today. And I'm not bold. There's areas I'm not bold in that I wish I was bold in. There's areas I second guess myself in. Now, I don't see it as a negative now, though.
Yeah.
I see the gift that my parents gave us by growing up in a small town.
Right.
However, there's a bit of a wound there that I've had to take stock of.
Yeah.
And do work on, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's a really interesting career to get into because us on the outside looking in would go, well, Jordan's a mainstay of CCM.
Sure,
like,
sure.
Jordan's a voice that we know and he's on the radio, and you're going like, I'm still the new kid.
I'm still the new kid. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a huge hockey fan.
Yeah?
Winnipeg,
Have you come over to our Preds?
I have not come over to the
Can't
dark
do
side.
it. I know.
Again.
What are the Winnipeg Maple Leafs? Isn't that somebody up there?
The Toronto Maple Leafs.
Okay.
The Winnipeg Jets.
I would.
Yeah.
You could have put money. You could have bought me a house for that, and I wouldn't have gotten the house.
Fair enough. They are just the classic underdog. Small team.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people want to come to Winnipeg to play hockey for the Winnipeg Jets.
Sure.
And there's a mentality there. There's a grit. There's a blue collarness that they represent that I love.
Yeah.
And one day they're going to win.
That's probably mathematically. That's probably true.
Maybe. However, I take a lot of that with me, and I forget what we were talking about.
No, that's it. I mean, that moving your kids.
Yes,
that carries with you.
That's right. There's this grind that comes with that you just this tenacity that's built in, and so that's carried us a long ways.
That sounds fun.
Okay, now back to our conversation with Jordan.
That sounds fun.
I think the other thing that I noticed when I was listening to the My Foundation album, I'm so glad people get to listen to this. It is so important. It's a really important album. But what I heard over and over is God has always been the same for me.
He's always been the same.
And so even you're like, I moved in first grade.
Yeah.
Like that comes into this album that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever.
That's right.
I mean, did you mean to do that? Did you mean to write an album that had that subtitle?
I think subconsciously, yes, but also there's these stories. Okay, so one of them is there's a song called Generation to Generations.
Yes.
That song was birthed out of a visit that I had with my grandpa. This was a couple of years before he passed away. And he came over, and we didn't have a deep relationship. My grandpa was not a part of my life for the majority of it because him and my mom had a tough relationship. And so we invited him over, and we had this conversation just about life. And my kids are running around being kids. They're loud. I'm like, guys, settle down. And it kind of caught my grandpa's attention. And he just made this statement of, I'm so glad that I'm not raising kids this day and age. And it hurt.
Yeah.
It really hurt because as believers, I've never understood that train of thought. Now, I'm not his age. I'm not living in his generation.
Yeah.
But my immediate thought was, Grandpa, you lived through the Great Depression.
Right.
You lived through World War II.
Right.
You know what I mean? Things are not that bad. And it just got me thinking how every generation has their battle.
Yeah.
And I know my kids are going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because the God that we believe in stays the same.
Yes.
He stays the same. He is the same through the generation of World War II, and he'll be the same through the generation that walks through artificial intelligence
Yeah,
or social
right.
media or all this stuff that
Yeah.
we're like kind of
I
fearing
mean, one of your
about.
quotes is, we don't have war in our country currently,
Yeah.
but we have TikTok.
Yeah, that's right.
I was like, that's
Yeah.
a thing. I mean, it is, parents are facing some hard things. I mean, when I was growing up, you had to look for pornography. Pornography
yeah.
comes running toward
It does.
us now.
It does.
Yeah.
It's a wild thing. Our oldest is 13.
Yeah.
And we held off getting him a phone forever.
I am
He was the
sure.
uncool kid. The hard thing is we used to live in a small town. Now we live in a city.
Yeah.
And he's miles away from us at times.
Oh, wow.
And we're calling his friends' phones.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, we can't be those parents. We've got to instill some independence.
Yeah.
And so we got him the phone, and it's lockdown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no social media. There's
Yes.
no nothing. He can call and he can text. But it's important, man. It is not the church's responsibility. It's not the government's responsibility. It's not the school's responsibility to teach our kids these things.
Yeah.
As parents, we need to be on the front lines
Yes.
to lead the way. And it is impossible. It is hard.
Yes.
But we've got to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that song, Generation to Generation, as I was listening to it, I was thinking, I'm just the idea of God being the same is kind of his and I theme, our
Okay,
theme right now.
okay.
And so when your whole album was out, I was like, well, I know.
Yeah.
That's what the Lord's trying to say to me anyway. But when I was listening to Generations, and when I was listening to Help,
Yeah.
I thought these are songs that say to me, you are invested in us as listeners, but you're actually raising people on the planet too. Like those felt like ones that a dad sings.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I mean, they're all songs that a dad sings because it's you, but those two particularly felt like, oh, he's thinking of me as a listener, but he's thinking of generations of children.
Absolutely. You know what? Like we were talking about rescue taking forever.
Yeah.
To kind of get where it needs to be a success for me and my team. Those are the kind of songs I want to be a part of.
Yeah.
Because you want deep roots.
Yeah.
Deep
Yeah.
roots. And I think deep roots means just great stories.
So when things take a year, when a song like Rescue takes a
Yeah.
year to
Yeah.
break top 10, which for our friends listening, do you ever listen to Smartlist? Do you know Smartlist?
I had to stop because it's just pure entertainment.
It's so entertaining,
and it's
right.
just it is. And I say this lovingly because
Yeah.
I love junk food, but it
Yeah.
is the junk food of podcasts.
Totally. Sure.
And those guys might be the funniest guys.
Yeah. So they
ever.
always talk to Tracy.
Yes.
Sean Hayes' sister, who doesn't know anything about, there's like to explain to Tracy what's going on. So I feel like I need to come up with someone that we explain things to. But when a song hits top 10,
Yeah.
that means things are going up.
Yes.
That is not like, oh, that was cute. That's like, oh, we need to pay attention right now because
Yeah.
now it's going to go somewhere.
Right.
As you and I were talking before we started, like, in our careers and everyone's careers,
Yes.
you are either climbing or you are descending.
That's right.
That's
right.
And there isn't a lot of like, I'm at the top and I stay there forever.
Yeah.
That's what happens. Charts change every week.
Yeah.
What's the internal work you do when people get to hear these songs and can give you feedback on Instagram? When your song is climbing
Yeah.
but it took a year. You sat in a year of this, of touring constantly. And
It's hard.
Yeah. What's the emotional work for all of us who have jobs? What's
Yeah.
the emotional work of that?
The industry side of things, paying attention to the charts, looking at the numbers on Spotify, all these things are brutally cold and calculated.
Right.
And it's cruel.
Yeah.
It really is
They're just
it's a
stats.
cruel
Yeah.
thing. What I tell people is I do not rest my head there. I do not
Wow.
sleep in the industry. And I think a lot of us think we need to sleep there, And so I go to the industry, I do my job, I love people as best as I can, but I do not live there.
Yeah.
Because it is an industry.
Yeah.
It is a very closely tied to money.
Yes.
And the Bible talks very clearly. It's like you've got two paths. It is God or money.
Yeah.
Now, I think money is a part of our everyday life, and we need to acknowledge that. But you cannot rest your head there and stay healthy. There's just no two ways about it.
I just watched a documentary that called money, that this man said, I'm just a supply line.
Oh, wow.
He said, God just gives me money so that I can send it where it needs to go.
Amazing.
I was like, that's how I want to think
Yeah.
about money.
Yeah.
Like, oh, great. Here we go.
As soon as we think it's alive, we're done.
Oh, alive.
You know what I mean?
That's beautiful.
It's neutral.
It's neutral.
It's
a
neutral.
tool.
It's a tool. I
Yeah.
worked in construction forever. It is a hammer to do the job that needs to get done.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's it. And if you can think about it that way, I don't think you're going to be controlled or manipulated by it.
Did you have to work through that, or is that
yeah.
natural? Okay, because
Absolutely.
me and my ego are at
Yeah.
like odds.
Yeah.
I mean, we are fighting it out right now.
And I think that's the point. If you feel the tension, you're going to be in a healthy place.
Oh, great.
As soon as you're
Can't
not,
wait.
it's not going to get resolved. That's the
Yeah,
crap.
it doesn't get resolved.
It doesn't get resolved.
Yeah.
It is very much a characteristic of being human and living on this earth.
Yeah. But
like
when you don't feel it, that's when.
That's, I think, when you're in trouble,
Got
to be
it.
honest.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, because there are two things pulling at us.
Yeah.
It's God, his spirit. He's pulling us toward him, or it's money and it's the world. And I don't know why, but I mean, the Bible's very clear on that.
Yeah.
It talks about those two things. And so I brought this up to one of my guys on my team. And I'm like, man, there's a lot of money coming in over here. There's some over here. And you know what? I don't know what to do. Like, it seems weird bringing this message forward, and there's a lot of money. And he just said the most profound, simple thing. Well, if you find yourself in a place where you're uncomfortable, you can just give it away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
And I'm like, oh, you're right.
Yeah.
It really is that simple.
Yeah.
Because I am not the provider
Yeah.
in my life. God is.
Yes.
And I get to show him that I am trusting him by like, hey, this does not control me. I can give this away.
Yeah. I've had a harder time in the lean times. It is harder for me to be separated from my ego in the lean times than in the successful times.
Wow.
Because in the lean times, I think, well, I should be able to.
Right.
And I should, like, I'm in charge of all of this. I
Yeah.
have the power. And then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
go like, oh, wait, when everything was abundant, I didn't actually make that happen.
Wow.
And so if
Yeah.
the Lord actually brings us abundance, then
Yeah.
the Lord actually brings us lean times too.
That's right.
And therefore, all I can do is be faithful again today with whatever
Yeah.
God's handed me. And the outcome of that is not mine.
Yeah.
But that's why we have to separate our ego.
Totally. Speaking to this, is this all a test?
Like earth.
Well, for sure. But like, especially when we're talking about finances,
Yeah.
especially when you're talking about North American believers.
Yeah.
Is this all a test?
Yeah.
I think it is.
Right.
I don't think God will tempt us
Yeah.
because he's loving
That's
and he's
right.
kind, he's not manipulative. But I think this is a test. And this part of our existence is short.
Yeah, that's right. The short part.
And we get to go have a little chat with him,
Mm-hmm.
when this life is done and we go on to the next. That little chat is my filter for everything.
do you think you do music in eternity? Is that you think that's the work you'll put your hands to? Or will you be building houses for us?
I think we love as believers to fill in that
Yeah, I like
that
dreaming
knowing.
about it. Yeah.
I definitely have. I believe that peace is at the core of heaven,
Yeah.
and I think there's so much weight that we
good.
carry here on this life
Yeah.
that will be shed.
Yeah.
I don't know that doing the way we do it now
Yeah.
will be there,
Yeah. Right.
because I think so much of what we do, there's an agenda behind it or a motive. Like, I think about doing music all the time, and I'm like, man, do I just do music because my dad wanted to be a singer-songwriter? And am I just trying to prove to my dad, hey, look at me? And I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
I really think that's part of it.
Yeah.
Is that pure? Well, not really.
Right.
And so, you know what? I think we're going to be in process for eternity.
Yeah.
However, I think we get a bit of a leap forward
Yes.
because of the proximity to the Spirit of God
Yeah.
that we will receive in heaven. And our motives will begin to be
clear up.
refined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone just recently, I was on the road and someone said, they were saying something like, well, for all eternity, God will be the only one that is all knowing. And I was like, we get to keep learning? Oh my
I
gosh,
have
we
to
get to
believe
keep
that.
learning
Yes.
forever?
Yes.
I can't, that makes me, the idea of knowing everything is part of what makes the thing feel scary to me. Of like, okay, we know everything. I'm like, oh, we get to keep learning and exploring and adventuring?
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Isn't that the ultimate characteristic of being human? Because as soon as we get to all-knowing, well, that's God.
Yeah.
You know
yeah.
what I mean? All-knowing is God.
That's right.
We are the needy person. He's the giver of life.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be that.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Okay, so can we jump here to talking for a minute about Emery?
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine a story in your life. I'm sure there are multiple, but Emery's story in your life must be one that reminded you, like, he's all knowing and we are not.
Oh my gosh.
And God is handling it and we can't. So tell us a little bit about her and her medical life that you want to share.
Yeah. Talk about finding your limits.
Yeah.
So my little girl, Emery, was born 6 months after I wrote this song Fire. So this song Fire
Really?
was not written for her. It was written out of someone else's testimony
Yeah.
that needed a miracle. God came through. But my question was, God, why do you allow us to walk through the fire first
Yeah.
and then save the day?
Yeah.
Well, he's like, I got an answer for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 6 months later, my wife gives birth to our youngest of 4, Emery Grace, born with this beautiful red hair. Like we're
Really?
talking about salon quality,
Yeah.
all the highlights at birth. And to accompany this beautiful red hair was this beautiful birthmark on the left side of her face. And she is delivered. And my wife doesn't see her yet. And I look at the nurse and I look at Heather, and Heather's like, what's wrong? And the nurse says, oh, I think that's just bruising.
Oh.
And I'm like, that's not just bruising.
Wow.
You know what I mean? This is a crimson mark.
Yeah.
And so within the first 24 hours, we had an MRI. And that MRI revealed that the left side of her brain was suffering from atrophy. It was shrinking.
Wow.
And
Oh my gosh. What do you do?
I didn't have words.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, I'm a planner.
Right.
I like to know what's coming
And
down
you've
the
done
pipe.
this 3 times.
Done this 3 times.
And you know exactly. I mean,
We
you're
know.
probably like, oh, did we
Yeah.
even pack a bag?
Exactly.
Yeah, here we go.
Let's
Yeah.
knock this out and go home.
Right.
Continue
right.
with our life.
Right.
And
And y'all were still in Canada. Yeah.
still in Canada.
Yeah.
This changed everything.
Yeah.
It really did. I felt as a father, honestly, I think the core of it was like I felt like a failure
Wow.
in that moment because I could not lead my family through this because I could not keep on doing it the way I'm used to. But as a believer, I was starting to see that I was winning because I had to fully relinquish my power and control,
Yeah.
or at least what I thought
Yeah.
was
Sure.
my control
Sure.
upon God. Again, I think when we come up against situations like this, we realize how little control we have in the first place.
Right.
It's like, oh, I thought I was in charge
Yeah,
the whole
right.
time, and I wasn't. And so that first year was, there's no other word to say it, but it was god-awful.
Really?
It was god-awful. The doctor's visits, for the first 5.5 months, it was just visits and figuring this out. What is this? Turned out to be a condition called Sturge-Weber syndrome.
Okay.
So in her case, it presents itself differently in kids. You know, we're all just so different. For her, the blood vessels on the left side of her face and her head grew to about 3 times the size they should be. So those blood vessels are
gosh.
stealing blood from the brain that needs it to grow.
Right.
And this just meant, high risk of seizure activity, high risk of stroke, blood clotting. She has weakness in the right side of her body. And at this point, as a young baby, it was really weak. Like her right arm was starting to curl up like this,
Wow.
which is a sure sign of this, of epilepsy and debilitation.
Wow.
Debilitation on the right side of her body. And so at 5.5 months, she had her first seizure.
Oh gosh.
I'm at work, laying floors. My wife calls me, Jordan, you need to come home. Emery's having a seizure. I got there. This little girl is just, you think she's dying. You think she's not coming back from this.
Yeah.
I call my mom and I cannot utter a word.
Yeah, I bet.
And my mom, she's like she knew I was on the other end of the line, and I could not utter a word. And she's like, "I'll be right there."
Oh,
And I just lost it.
I'm sure.
We're literally getting out the door, and all the kids come home
Oh gosh, from like school or
from
something.
school. She's still seizing.
Have mercy.
Her right arm is just twitching, and we're like, "This, I don't know what's happening."
Yeah.
And all we know, in Canada, the healthcare system is very reactionary. And so we weren't given seizure protocol.
Oh wow.
We don't know what this looks like. We don't know what to do. And so now we know you call the ambulance ASAP because her O2 levels go way to the bottom
Yeah.
and she needs oxygen stat.
Right.
But we took her to the hospital.
Sure.
And so it took a while to get everything sorted. And she came back to us maybe about 80%. And we took her home. And slowly but surely she bounced back. It's like a computer
Wow.
resetting.
Wow.
Now the hope is all the programs boot back up.
Yep.
That's the thing. And
But only time tells.
only time tells.
Yeah.
And the brain is so fascinating. People don't know.
Yeah.
Even the most, knowledgeable experts in neurology, they cannot give you
Can't
answers.
sort out brain stuff. Yeah,
And
that's
so,
right.
So our neurologist gave us the worst case scenarios.
Oh, wow.
Your daughter is likely going to need a hemispherectomy. So because the damaged part is on the left side of the brain, they will do a hemispherectomy where they will cut down the center of the brain, disconnect the lobes, disconnect all the connecting tissue, and she will live her life on the right side.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I did not know we could do that.
This is like science fiction.
Yeah.
Now, typically they say if we can do this, I want to say before 7 years, but that seems long now. It's been a long time since we've had this information, that she will live a pretty decent life.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, that is the plan. That is how we serve this girl the best.
Yeah.
We're going to go and we're going to be brave and we're going to do this.
Yes.
And then she stopped having seizures
Oh, wow.
and her medication started working. And then, you kind of regain your hope and regain your sight. And then bam, you're back in the hospital again with seizures.
Yeah.
And it's just been a crazy journey of holding on and letting go.
Yeah.
Really, for real. And
That's why I think it's important, the part where you said Heather was praying neighbors,
Yes.
and medical care.
yes,
Because people, now they're hearing like, the actual layer of this is Emory and the kids, and meanwhile, career, meanwhile, moving. And you've got a very medically fragile child.
leaving our parents. Who's
Yeah,
our support
wow.
system? Who's our 911 people?
Right.
And, 2 doors down from us, we found our 911 people.
Wow.
You know what I mean? He used to be in the music business, played for Kelsey Ballerini.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're our people because you understand the
Yeah.
lifestyle.
Yes.
And you have 2 young kids.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, so where we live is where we were placed.
Yeah.
Like God literally
Wow.
picked us up and put us there. And so our little girl is 5.
Yeah.
And guess what we did last night? She had her preschool graduation.
Oh.
And she has been seizure free for just, almost a year and a half.
Wow.
And the MRIs
Wow.
reveal that she should be having a lot more seizure activity.
Wow.
And the doctors, the theory is that everything is kind of wired naturally, rewired onto the right side of her brain. And here we are.
Wow.
And this little girl has her wit,
Yeah.
her intellect,
Yeah.
like everything that are kind of metrics for just a positive, view of her life are
Yes.
there.
Wow.
And so
That's incredible.
I don't even know what to say.
We'll link to People Magazine is featuring this story over Father's Day. So
Yeah.
we'll link to it so everybody can see it.
Amazing.
But I mean, it's just everyone's life is so much deeper than we know.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
many more layers than we
Absolutely.
know. And
Absolutely.
the idea of you having to go, do I take this 3-week tour?
Yeah.
Every single time I take a tour, am I risking Emory having a seizure
Yeah.
while I'm gone? I mean,
And that happened. Well, I was
gosh.
on my first big US tour with Jeremy Camp.
yeah.
We're in San Antonio, Texas. And I got a call from my wife where we had just moved to the US.
Oh my gosh.
And we're terrified of the US healthcare system,
Yeah,
to be
sure.
completely
You
honest.
just don't know how it works?
We
Yeah.
don't know how it works. We ask our friends, how does this work? And they're like, we don't know how it works.
We don't actually know either.
And honestly, the best way for you to figure out who your team is in the healthcare field, unfortunately, is to have an episode.
Yeah.
Emory having seizures. And so she went in and we found our neurologist. We found our epilepsy specialist. We found all these people to surround her. And the beautiful thing, when we walked into Vanderbilt
Yeah.
Children's Hospital, they did not bat an eye. They're like,
Right.
Sturge Weber? Yes.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? Like, Heather, my wife is amazing. She's an ambassador for our little girl. But when you have to fight so much to be a voice in the healthcare system, it weighs on you.
Yep.
And she just felt such a sweet sense of relief when she walked in and people validated
Yes.
what she was.
Oh, and
was
just like
going
knew
through.
when they looked at
Yeah.
Emory.
Yeah.
Oh, what a gift.
Now, don't get me wrong. There are still things that we still have to fight for, and it's hard.
Yeah.
However, this was a beautiful, part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a tier 3 or tier 4 neurological center. I'm like, okay, God,
Yeah.
see what you're doing here.
Yeah.
And so, again, feeling like a failure as a father, being on the road. God, am I trading what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
Up for what I'm doing on the road? Like, this is crazy. Like, music and and fame and getting hit songs. These are things that a lot of people aspire to be, and they are at the, it's the mountaintop moment for them.
Yes.
And I'm like, God, help me trade that moment in. I don't get me wrong, I still desire it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe
and that's okay.
It's okay.
I think that's good.
However, but the identity has to be reworked.
Jeez. Jordan, I'm just thinking about, I'm thinking about Gabe and Rebecca Lyons. I don't know if you know them, but they have 4 kids.
Yeah.
2 of them have Down syndrome, and 2 of them, the older 2, no, I'm sorry, Kate is the oldest with Down syndrome, and then there's 2, and then the youngest, Joy, has Down syndrome. And when and often I've talked to Gabe and Rebecca, and I've heard them talk about like what plan God must have for all 4 of them.
Yeah.
But for the children who have grown up with medically high risk siblings.
Yes.
And so I'm thinking about your other 3, and Emery for that matter, of like what God must have for them.
Yeah.
That their like training ground of the first 18 years is like, here's a couple of traumas.
Yeah.
And but he has held them, right?
Yeah.
Like we all have traumas, so you haven't put anything on them.
No.
But it's just like the Lord going like, yeah, I'm preparing.
I've got a story.
Yeah.
Okay, this just ties in perfectly. Before Emery was born, so Emery was not planned, by the way,
Oh wow.
and we were done. We
Oh,
sold
wow.
the crib. We got rid of everything.
Oh my God.
All of a sudden, Heather's like, I'm pregnant. And we felt the shame of that.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
wow.
Of like, we've got to go tell our family, like, hey, we're not as in control of our lives as we thought. Here we go. We're having another child.
Yeah.
And I remember praying to God, not for this pregnancy, but just for my kids. And I remember praying this prayer, and I haven't shared this with this family yet. And I hope they hear it one day.
Yeah.
I'm actually going back to my hometown this year to play some shows, and
Oh,
I need
wow.
to share this with them. We had this beautifully amazing family that lived around the corner from us, 4 kids, and their girls would babysit for us. They were just this beautifully sweet, God-fearing family that we looked up to. And we never really conveyed that to them, but we felt it deeply.
Yeah.
And I remember praying, God, help me lead my kids in the ways of the Schmidt family.
Oh wow.
Their kids are amazing.
Yeah.
They're super sweet. They seem honest
Yeah.
and genuine. And I desire that for my kids.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, like, what makes their kids that way? What is it? Well, their youngest, Andrew, had Down syndrome. And he is just the sweetest, most lovable, affectionate guy.
Yes.
And every time we saw each other, it was just this beautiful moment. And that he created.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It wasn't me. It was
Yeah.
all him. And I'm like, that's it.
What a gift. Yeah.
And then here comes along Emery.
Yeah.
And she brings this sweetness to our family,
Yeah.
this deep sense of compassion that we didn't see before.
Yeah.
And what she did is she opened our eyes to the world's needs,
Yeah.
right? Those around us. I'm like, oh my gosh, how do we love our world now that we see all these deep needs? It's such a weight. Oh, it's so practical.
Yeah.
Go mow their yard.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
bring them a gas gift card.
Yeah.
Bring them a meal.
Yeah.
Sit and listen. It's so practical. It's not this big, overly spiritual thing. It already is spiritual.
Yeah. That's
so,
right. That's
so
right.
that's really the story of that family.
That's
and
beautiful.
yeah,
Andrew.
yeah.
I'm telling you, what a gift. God,
What a gift.
There are so many people on the planet. I live part-time in New York. I don't know if you know that, but this year I'm like back and forth.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when I see people in New York who seem to have had a much harder time than me,
Wow.
we've gotten where we both are, and I bet their path has been a lot harder.
Yep.
I always think, Lord, what's the gift that you have them offering the world and me offering the world? And,
Yeah.
I'm often thinking
Yeah.
about there's a gift in all of us.
That's right.
And there's
That's
a
right.
gift in that person
Amen.
for the world. And so I think you're teaching a beautiful thing.
You talk about New York.
Yeah.
And you love the pace.
I love the pace.
I lived in New York for 2 months.
Okay.
This is way back in the day,
Yeah.
2002. Served with Youth with a Mission
Oh, yeah.
at Ground Zero.
Oh, my gosh.
And so we got
Did
to-
you do a DTS?
We did a DTS.
And then your
The mission was in New York City,
Wow. Where'd you DTS?
Montana.
Wait, okay.
Lakeside, Montana.
I have so many friends that DTS in
Really?
Montana. Yes.
Come on.
And my sister was at Honolulu.
Okay.
And then she and her husband run a YWAM base.
Oh, come on.
Yes.
Wow.
I know.
That's crazy.
Okay, sorry, go ahead. So you're in Ground
yeah.
Zero.
No. The pace of New York
Yeah.
City was a beautiful thing.
It's great.
And
right?
not, I get it, where like I would never raise my family there.
Yeah.
But in that season of life, it was the most beautiful time. And man, did I learn how to walk.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, my body likes walking
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much more than riding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's been great.
We flew in
But
to New
woo.
York and we literally walked everywhere for 2 months.
Yeah, I bet.
And then we got back into a car, and then we did not touch a
Y'all
car.
probably slept in like a church basement.
Okay, so here's
YWAM.
here's the facts. I'm going to say this, but don't think of it yet. I'm going to fill out
It
the
was
story.
also 20 years ago, everybody.
We stayed in this $2 million house in the Upper East Side that needed a renovation so bad. It felt like we were
But
sleeping
they
in a
let
church
the whole
basement.
team
Yeah.
stay there.
Yeah. It was a rundown.
That's amazing,
old,
though. Yeah.
What do they call them? The tall, like a brownstone.
brownstone,
Yeah. And it had an elevator in it. And I can't believe no
Upper East
one died.
Side.
I know.
Yeah.
But it was like you walk in and it was drab.
Yeah.
It was, and you know what? We loved it.
Yeah.
It just, again, it's amazing how you just need a space to cultivate community, to shove people in like sardines for a long period of time.
Yes.
And now you're going to love them for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, listen, YWAM. And Lauren Cunningham that founded it just passed away recently.
Yeah.
And I think, man, when he got to heaven, if the Lord just pulled out a map and was like, look at this. You had an idea.
Yeah.
And look at this map. Like
Wow.
all these lit up places. I mean, yeah, I can't imagine the reach that YWAM has
I love
had.
that idea because so often we think we get to heaven and it's negative.
Yeah.
You didn't do this. You didn't do this. You didn't do this. Man, imagine if I did that as a father to my kids.
Right.
Oh, yeah, they're going to love me.
Right.
And again, it's not about God receiving love. It's about we know he's good.
Yeah.
We know he's faithful.
That's right.
And don't get me wrong. I think he's going to have tough conversations with us because he wants us to draw close.
Yeah.
But he's going to give us a hug.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Show us a map.
Yeah, show us
He's
the
gonna be
map.
like, look, you made this choice instead of that
Yeah.
choice, and look at the trajectory.
Yeah.
That's what you would do as a dad.
That's right.
Is go like, oh man, you know how you turned right instead of left?
Yeah,
Look
yeah.
at how
Yeah,
that
yeah.
paid off.
I love, my wife talks about this story of like, you know, when our kids don't quite measure up or our friends or I believe God is up there championing.
Yeah.
Like a father
Yeah.
or a brother at a football game.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, so close.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
You missed it that time. And you know what? That's okay. You're going to
That's
get it
okay.
next time.
Go again. Yeah, go again.
Because I'm like, we think through our human lens, our
Yeah.
failures and our mistakes.
Yeah.
And we think they're just the be all end all.
Yeah.
And God,
right.
he sees infinitely
right.
longer than us.
Right.
That sounds fun.
Hey friends, just interrupting this conversation one more time to tell you about one of our incredible partners, Hiya Health. This one is for my mini BFFs. We all want the kids in our lives to stay as healthy as possible. And Hiya Health is the pediatrician approved chewable vitamin that is super powered and made with zero sugar and zero gummy junk. Yet they still taste great and are perfect for even the pickiest eaters. Typical children's vitamins are packed with sugar and other gummy junk that makes my mini BFFs not happy. They do not need that. It's basically candy in disguise, right? Ugh. And that's why we love partnering with Hiya Health. Hiya fills in the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide the full body nourishment our kids need with a yummy taste that they love. A lot of my mini BFFs love them, and I love knowing they're getting the nourishment they need without any of that junk. We've worked out a special deal with Hiya for my friends. You can get their best-selling children's vitamin for 50% off your first order, you guys, 50. To claim this deal, you just got to go to hiyahealth.com/thatsoundsfun. That's HIYAHEALTH.com/thatsoundsfun and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. And now back to finish up our conversation with Jordan.
That sounds fun.
Tell us, if it's public, where are you touring in the fall? Like, who are you out with? How can we, because now you've got like all these That Sound Fun friends who are going to be like, how do we go see Jordan?
Okay, so it's not public yet.
Oh, okay.
But I am
there will be
doing
a tour.
a headlining tour, the My Foundation tour.
Yes.
I'm so
great.
excited. This is kind of a first big thing for me.
Oh, you're going to be such a good tour leader.
I'm just so
That's
excited
awesome.
to be a part of, to be honest, don't get me wrong, I'm excited for the shows.
Yeah.
I'm excited to just be a part of leading the tour culture. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
just creating a space for people to feel loved.
Yes.
I'm excited to lead the charge when we step into churches saying that we came to serve.
Yeah.
We came to leave more than we take.
Yes.
That is the whole emphasis of really, creating a foundation in our lives. It's
Yeah.
like we came to serve.
Yes.
Jesus came to serve.
Yes.
We want to follow in that way.
I can't remember who started this in me, but a few years ago, someone coached me that and we do this, me and whoever's traveling with me, my tour manager, my assistant, whoever, when we pull up to a church for a speaking event, before we get out of the car, the last thing we say is, they could have picked anybody and God could have picked anybody.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
thankful they picked us.
Absolutely.
And that switched my brain
Wow.
from I'm walking in as like lucky you to I'm walking in as lucky me.
Yeah.
They could have picked anybody.
I'm not the person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm just the one that got picked for this. And so
that's right.
That is, have you talked to are you friends with Kane?
I know. Yeah.
Okay.
We've hung out. We've toured together.
We've talked a lot about leading tours.
Oh, great.
And what the spiritual, emotional responsibility. Because I'm always like, when you're out with me, when we are done, I want you to be healthier in every way.
Amen.
Because we see people come home from tour like they've actually been like imprisoned.
That's right.
Or they've been on a binge.
Yeah.
And you're like, you are not healthy in any way.
That's right.
And you were gone for 2 weeks.
I know.
And you look worse for the wear.
Yeah.
And so I love that you're leading a tour because I feel like your humility and your care is going to send people home healthier, and you got them.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. We've got to do it better.
Yeah.
We've got to do a better job, and I think...
And the headliner decides.
Oh, the headliner dictates everything.
Yes.
And I think for me, my philosophy has always been, how can we decrease the space between the stage and that front row?
Yeah.
We are not special.
Yeah.
As being the artist or the speaker.
That's right.
We are not special.
Yeah.
We just happen to like speaking and singing.
That's right.
And we're all in this together.
Yeah.
But how can I prove to you that I'm your kind of people because you're mine. You know what I mean? And we're all here.
Give me an example of someone that a headliner you went out with that led really well.
Oh,
Shout down somebody.
Mac Powell. Come on.
Amen.
You know what I mean? Mac Powell, and I speak no ill will towards anyone else I've ever toured with.
Don't tell me negative ones till we're not recording.
No. And there haven't been a lot of negative ones. And even in the negative ones, there was always a lesson to be learned. And I don't take it for granted.
That's exactly right.
I remember the first time I toured with Mac. We got on the bus. This was, I think, a K-Love Christmas tour, 2022 or 23.
Yeah.
And we got on the bus, and we'd done a few shows, and we get on the bus, and it's kind of this down moment. Yeah. And Mac is like, all right, we're going around the room. Everybody is going to say something about the other person that you admire.
Wow.
I'm going to start. Jordan.
Wow.
I love the way, when you're on the bus, you're not quick to speak.
Oh,
you're just quiet and you're listening.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh man, you see that. You see me.
Yeah.
But you're Mac Powell.
Right.
And I think he has a very just this deep sense of what being a father on the road looks like.
Yeah.
And he cares for people deeply.
That's right.
He doesn't just hug you.
That's right.
He hugs you.
That's right.
He's spoken so much into my life, and what a gift.
Yeah.
What a gift.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, the last question. Is there anything we didn't say you want to make sure we say?
Did we talk about the record?
Yeah.
We did. Yeah, we talked about the record. Yeah. Comes out. Yeah, you said that. Comes out Father's Day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
Okay, great.
You didn't ask me what sounds fun.
That's what we're about to do.
Let's go.
Last question.
Come on.
Because the show is called That Sounds Fun, Jordan Saint's here. What sounds fun to you?
This is what sounds fun.
Okay.
Just hanging, just talking.
I know. I love it.
I was so excited for this interview because,
thanks.
Again, I get this sense you have a genuine love for people. Now, you are a 7.
Thanks. Yes. What are you, by the way? What do you identify
okay,
as?
So what do I identify?
Yeah. I don't want to make you your that number.
That's
There's
right.
a number you pick. Yeah.
So it took me a while. I knew I was this. Then I kind of thought I was this, but I'm a 1-wing 9.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
My wife is a 9.
Oh, great.
And you know what? When I go to a 7 in health.
Yeah, you do.
And so when I'm on, I'm like, there I am.
Yeah.
So little fact about me, my wife and I, we quit coffee a year ago. And we're just like, I'm dehydrated. I was losing my voice. I'm like, I got to do something drastic. Now we do coffee Saturdays.
Oh, what a blessing.
And I don't know if y'all know this, but caffeine is a drug.
Yeah.
It will take you places.
Yes.
Especially when you're off of it.
It will take you.
And now we do coffee Saturdays. And it's just, again, I get to welcome my warm friend back into my life.
Yeah.
But it's just a way that me and my wife, we set time to just hang.
Yeah.
And we get to do the thing
when
and
you're
talk about.
When you're touring, do you pick a different day? Is it like Coffee Tuesday or something? Or is it like, sorry, we don't get it for 3 weeks?
I'll try and stick to the thing because then when I get home, we can still enjoy the coffee together.
Yeah, there you go.
However, we might sneak in a coffee Thursday.
Yeah, I would think
if
so.
If we're having a rough day.
If your Sabbath is actually on a Tuesday after touring, I think you should have coffee Sabbath.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I will say this, if you are listening to this and you drink coffee every day and it's not working, I dare you to quit, and I dare you to start enjoying it again. It will change your life.
I bet.
It is.
Yeah.
It has been amazing to kind of re-experience coffee.
I don't drink coffee either. I'm a tea person.
Oh,
so I still do a little caffeine, but
Yeah.
I mean, I wake up like this. The world doesn't need me on caffeine. Can you imagine? It wouldn't serve anybody.
A 7 on caffeine?
Yeah, it would be
Come
like
on.
it would be too much for my team, too much for me.
No.
The volume would be bad.
No, this thing would just blow up.
That's right.
Like it would just be so huge because there's just so much of you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Jordan, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
I hope it is not your last time. You're welcome back here anytime.
Thank you so much.
Please, I don't know who will make the call first, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
make the call or I'll make the call. But I would love for you to come back.
Well, this has been a joy.
So,
I love
thanks.
conversating with people who want to talk about the deep things in life
Yeah.
and keep Jesus at the center.
Yeah.
So thank you for what you do.
Well,
Yeah.
same to you. Oh, you guys, isn't he the best? I know, I told you. Make sure you are streaming his album, My Foundation, wherever you love to listen to music, and get thyself to one of Jordan's shows when he travels your way. Be sure you're following him on social media. Tell him thanks so much for being on the show. And if you like this episode, I think you will also really enjoy episode 191 with Zach Williams or episode 77, old school but a goodie, with the friends from Passion Music. Those are linked in the show notes below as well. If you have any questions from this episode, just drop them in the Q&A box on your Spotify app if you're a Spotify listener, or you can send them to us on Instagram at That Sounds Fun Podcast, and we will answer them there for you. If you need anything else from me, I'm embarrassingly easy to find. Annie F. Downs, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the places you may need me. That's where you can find me. Well, when I'm back in July. That's where you can find me when I'm back in July. I think that's it for me today, friends. Go out or stay home. Do something that sounds fun to you, and I will do the same. Today, what sounds fun to me is a quick walk in Central Park. I love that place. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday. We have 2 more shows before our whole team takes a Sabbath break the week of July 4th. And on Monday, you're going to get to hear from one of my favorite Instagram accounts, influencers, and healthy friends, really very crunchies, Emily Morrow. We'll see y'all on Monday.
That sounds fun.
That sounds fun.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Check 1, 2 on the microphone. Annie F. Downs in your car to your home. Every week it's something new. A deep talk or an interview. She'll make you laugh, she'll make you cry. When it's dark out, she's a light. When you're down, get you feeling right.